can never remember if it's all the way to the left or all the way to the right. It's favoritism, Steve. Why won't you open like all the way down?
You ready for 31? You ready for 31? Yes, sir. I have, yeah, 31 like that.
Counselor, you all ready? Everybody ready? Okay. Good afternoon, everyone. That's a new saying. Normally I say good evening. Good afternoon, everyone. We're very happy that you all are here with us today. This is the Tuesday, October 7th, regular town council meeting for our gorgeous town of Southern Shores. It's just looking exceptionally good on a nice sunny, bright day like today. If you would all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. We'll observe a short moment of silence. Thank you. Council, in front of us is an agenda. If anyone would like to make a motion to approve or a motion to amend the agenda as presented.
I move that we approve the agenda.
Second.
Motion is second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed say no. Thank you. We have an approved agenda. We have a consent agenda that consists of some minutes and a couple of budget amendments. Does anyone, council members, have any discussion, questions about the consent agenda? Seeing nothing, can I have a motion to approve consent agenda?
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion is second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say no. We have an approved consent agenda. All right. Welcome again, and we will start our business meeting with a presentation from our auditor, and I think Bonnie is going to start with an introduction. Bonnie, our finance officer and human resources officer. She wears two hats for us. Good afternoon, Bonnie.
Good afternoon, Mayor, members of council. I'm happy to report that the auditors were here 2 days in May, 2 days in August, and Reed is here to present the audit for the FY 24-25 fiscal year. Reed? Thank you.
Council, good afternoon, everyone. Again, my name is Reed Parker. I'm with Carl Riggs and Ingram CPA firm. This is our third year conducting the audit for the town of Southern Shores. So happy to be here this afternoon. Just to give you a little background, I spend 99.9% of my time on governmental audits year round. So familiar in the space, we work with counties, towns, water districts, special authorities. We kind of cover the whole gamut of governmental auditing. So I'm glad to be here this afternoon. The main thing y'all hire us to do really is to offer an opinion on your financial statements. And if you look in your audit report, kind of after the table of contents on the very first letter, kind of down that second paragraph, it's going to say, in our opinion, the financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects. What that means is when we got finished looking at transactions and balances and disclosures and everything related to the financial statements, we had no issues in terms of in a material amount. How we come about to that opinion is we're looking at variance analysis years over year, trend analysis. We're confirming balances, your cash balances, your revenue. We confirm probably 80% of your revenues either through the state or through Dare County. If not, we're pulling receipts and looking at that to make sure they got into the bank statements, make sure they're coded correctly. Same thing with expenditures. So we're doing Variance analysis, we're doing analytical procedures, we're doing substantive testing to be able to form that opinion. And again, happy to say that in our opinion, the financial statements are fairly presented in all material respects. We're not required to look at internal controls while we're out here, but we certainly do. And we always want to look at internal controls and see if there's any things that we want to report to the council that we think need to be improved. Again, glad to say that we did not see any internal control deficiencies that we felt warranted being mentioned here today. Again, everything from that internal control structure is being performed really well. I'm going to hit some financial highlights and go over a couple of things, but feel free to jump in and ask any questions as I go along. We don't need to wait till the end. If you've got some questions, jump right in. The net position for the town closed the year at $24,649,950. That was a decrease of about $1.86 million this year. That decrease, really strong net positions, but that decrease was related to about $400,000 in paving expenses. I want to say about $115,000 in some new computer service charges. Our salaries increased significantly. So really, again, about $100,000, I want to say, in salary increases, maybe even a little bit more than that. I think about $100,000 really in public safety. But again, that decrease is really just related to some normal, every year operating expenses, especially around that paving. Y'all do that paving project that y'all been doing over the last several years. And that's that decrease there. You also had about $110,000 decrease in investment earnings. That's really as you were spending that cash on some of your capital outlay. Obviously, the less cash you have, the less investment earnings you have to make. So again, about $110,000 decrease in your revenues for net investment income. Fund balance at the year end, and this is in the general fund, closed at $11,317,989. This was a decrease of about $2.275 million. This is really related to your capital outlay expenditures. Again, in your infrastructure capital outlays this year, you had about, I want to say about $2.5 million in outlay. The Juniper Trail Bridge went into service this year. Just Cemetery Drive out of the cemetery fund, and the North Carolina 12 bike path had about $500,000 in capital outlays as well this year. So that's where that decrease is coming in on the fund balance level. Your unassigned fund balance, again, was $6.2 million. You have a fund balance policy of 3.5. So again, well above that fund balance policy of having that unassigned fund balance available. And that's so important as y'all know, on a coastal town, you're one kind of severe storm away from really needing to have that unassigned fund balance available. And you have a really strong unassigned fund balance. I do feel like it's necessary to point out that there is on, again, Exhibit 2, which is going to be on page, let me see, that's going to be on page 13. There is a restatement, a prior period adjustment of about $87,000. We're making a prior period adjustment, not because anything was wrong with prior year numbers, not to get too much in the weeds this year, but there was a new GASB, a Government Audit Standing Board Statement 101 that changed how accrued compensation was accounted for. And so that made that adjustment of about $86,000. And again, that's just a change in accounting principle. It doesn't mean anything was done wrong. It's just how the accounting for accrued compensation changed this year and moving forward. Again, cash was down from about 3.2 to 10.65 this year, really related to your capital outlay expenditures. Again, that's kind of the financial highlights. I know I went through that kind of quickly. If there's anything individually or that y'all have to ask, I can try my best to answer. And if not, I can certainly get an answer to you.
I just have one kind of like strategic question.
Sure, absolutely.
You do an inordinate amount of work with, local towns and counties. In the next 5 years, is there any particular, in your professional opinion, any particular area that is going to come up and, in essence, bite some of these jurisdictions in the rear end?
Well, I mean, the problem we see, and it's a significant problem, is staffing.
Okay.
And it's staffing for two reasons. Just a lot of turnover in small municipalities. We do we do some very large periods, we do some very small municipalities, places that their town hall is open 3 hours a week. And again, they're turning over finance officers every 8 months, and that's just not sustainable no matter what size you are. So that staffing from an accounting standpoint, I don't see anything on the horizon. There's been a lot of GASB, again, in the weeds, how leases have been accounted for, how accrued compensation has been accounted for, how we're going to present our financial statements is going to change a little bit next year coming up. Those make it hard on the finance officer. It makes it hard on us. So again, there's that extra work that sometimes we don't really see the point in. But again, we have to follow the rules, and we do. So, but I don't think there's anything structurally out there that, you know, I always tell people watch their debt, but again, not an issue for y'all, things of that sort. But I don't think there's anything structurally out there that I see on the horizon.
Thank you.
I just have a question.
Sure.
Since you did the audit during the time that the fire department was transitioning, did that have any impact or?
No, we've been in a lot of communication about how that's occurring. That's going to be mainly in FY26. There is going to be a lot of, significant additional work around that in FY26. But we are aware of that. I think even back in May, if not before, Bonnie was mentioning that to us, and we were kind of aware of that situation. But I think the accounting impact of that's going to occur in FY26.
And this is a big, really detailed document, and I'm just seeing it today. Any chance we could get this a little earlier than?
Yes, ma'am. We try to, again, we've had the state didn't even accept, so I failed to mention that. This is a draft in the sense that the LGC has not approved it yet. We do not foresee any changes. Because of the GASB 101 statement, they haven't even opened up the portal to allow us to upload audits yet because of some of that guidance around the GASB 101 restatement. But to answer your question, yes, ma'am, we would love to get this to you before today, and we will certainly try to do that in future years.
Thank you.
Thanks, Reed.
Right, and again, this is
Appreciate you.
Thank you, very voluminous document. If you have questions afterwards, Bonnie has my contact information. Please feel free to contact us if you have questions afterwards.
Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. You have a great day.
Thank you. All right, council, next, we're going to start with our staff reports, and we'll start with our planning director and deputy town manager, Wes Haskett. Good afternoon, Wes.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Afternoon, excuse me. So used to saying evening. With respect to September permits, we issued 52 permits, and they consisted of 12 zoning permits, 21 building permits, 18 trade permits, and 1 sign permit. The total amount of fees collected by the planning department in September was $11,451.77. With respect to code enforcement, there were 2 warning citations mailed to property owners for solid waste ordinance violations. If you all will recall at the last meeting, council meeting, there was a discussion about, in the presentation given on the Paul Gambles Hill Life Saving Station. And there was some discussion about potential designation of the site at Hillcrest Beach as potentially a historic landmark. As you all, or as I suggested to you all, I brought up the idea of potentially designating that site as a historic landmark with the Historic Landmarks Commission at their last meeting, and they agreed that it's a good potential candidate. And I also spoke with them about the idea of a new marker or plaque placed at the site. They also thought that was a good idea as well. And I've also bounced the idea off of the SSCA president for designation and a new marker at the site. And he said that they are open to conversations about, starting a conversation about designation of the site as a landmark, and that they don't have any opposition to putting up a new plaque or marker at the site. So if you all want to move forward with this discussion, we suggest maybe having 2 council members, 2 landmarks commission members, SSCA representative, and maybe even Mr. Bob Moore, and town staff to all get together and meet and discuss the next steps and how we can move forward as a group to see if we can get that site designated. So if you all want to provide that input today, we can, or we can do that at a future meeting date.
Appreciate y'all, you putting that amount of effort into it, because we sort of threw that on the agenda at the last meeting.
Right.
I think it's great what you've done encompassing SSCA, the town,
Yes.
and the Landmarks Commission. And I think the best thing is for us to think about it and get back. I mean, I think the setup sounds perfect. Anybody else have any comments about that? Or
Well, I'd
disagreement?
be interested in being on the committee if
So
that helps.
So would I.
Paula, and, oh, we don't have to think about it.
I'll
Look,
Got her
nominate
too.
Rob and Paula
I
to be on the
nominate, I
committee.
second that motion. And so, so we have two council members that are excited to serve.
Great.
And you can take it from there, I guess.
Yes, ma'am. I will.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll get a couple Historic Landmarks Commission members and reach back out to the SSCA president, and we'll set up a meeting and talk about the next steps going forward.
Awesome.
He did mention that they most likely would have to put, the idea up to their membership for a vote, I think, but that would be further along in the process.
Okay.
But I think it's a good way to get this ball rolling.
That's great.
And then lastly, with respect to our planning board, they will be having their regular meeting on October 20th here at 5 o'clock in the Pitt Center. They'll be considering a ZTA prepared by town staff, ZTA 2506. They'll address a few things. One, as staff promised at the last council meeting, in the changes in the ZTA, that in regards to reconsideration of disapproved development and amendment requests. Well, that HB 926 became law, I think, yesterday, and there was a prohibition on waiting periods. So the ZTA, as promised, will include taking that out of the town code, even though y'all just adopted it last month. It will also include a few modifications, amendments. One of them would be Town Code Section 6-5 to clarify when permits are required for walls. Also to remove the requirement to obtain a building permit for fences, as well as Town Code Section 36-297A3 to establish that new building permits and zoning permits are required following expiration. Any questions about any of that or
Do
anything
you mean
else?
retaining walls?
Retaining walls, yes. Right now, it just says very broadly says a building permit shall be obtained for walls and fences. Well, yeah, you know as well as I do that the statutes don't allow for that. So it's this is a fix for that, but it's to clarify, we do require retaining walls in certain instances if they're a certain height.
Perfect.
And if they're structural, engineered and things like that.
Sounds good. The improvement of our ordinances is never ending. So
That's
thanks,
correct.
Wes.
Yes,
Yeah,
ma'am.
thank
It's
you,
always
Wes.
a work in progress.
Yes, ma'am. Yep, you're welcome.
Next, we'll hear from our fire chief, Chief Limbacher. Good afternoon, Chief.
Good afternoon, Mayor, Council, everyone. So for the month of September, Fire Department responded to a total of 82 calls and pretty simple breakdown of 1 trash fire, 48 EMS calls, 1 motor vehicle accident with no injuries, 1 elevator rescue, 2 gas leaks, 1 electrical problem, 1 arcing problem, 5 of our beach wheelchair delivery, 1 of our address, 2 of our smoke detector program, 1 assist the police, 1 public service, 9 cover assignment or move up, 3 cancel en route, and 4 fire alarms. For a total again of 82. Puts us a little behind or a little ahead of last year. Last year was 75, but it all seems to work out the same in the end. Any questions on that report at all? Pretty simple. So just a couple things. Staffing, just brought it up when the auditor said about that. It is a little bit challenging. I think Cliff would agree, but I think we were pretty lucky. We finally have all 4 captains hired. The last one will start Thursday, and I think we got all pretty good picks. So all the volunteers seem to be pretty happy with them. They seem to be getting along with everyone, which was obviously an important factor. So I'm pretty happy about that. And Sheila, were you able to upload those pictures? Oh, no, okay. I had some pictures from Kitty Hawk Elementary fire prevention yesterday, which just kind of ended on a good note, but maybe I'm not used to this new Outlook email. The Gmail's a little easier, but anyway. So it was just yesterday we had Kitty Hawk Elementary over grades 1 through 3, and probably took us from 8 to 11 to get them all through. And it was us, KDH, Dare County Fire Marshal's Office, and Kitty Hawk. So everyone did a great job, and I thought it went pretty smooth. We got them through a little faster this time because principal doesn't like us to hold up the day because they have their day planned too as well. So it worked out pretty good. So
Yeah, I happened to drive by while I guess that was going on. I was wondering, what's all, but thank you. You've just answered my question. Now I know exactly what was going on. You had KDH folks there with you and Kitty Hawk?
yeah, they all do it because everyone goes to the school and it's kind of like a Dare County thing. But it works out. We're pretty lucky in the fact that the fire department's right across from the school because we used to go over there and it's a lot, I wouldn't say nicer, but better at the school because we can just break it down to the training room. They walk through it into the bay to get dressed to the trucks. It puts it in one central location. It's pretty nice. So everybody seemed to be pretty happy with it.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
Sounds good. Appreciate you, Chief. Next, we'll hear from our town manager, Mr. Cliff Ogburn. Good afternoon, Cliff.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'll start off with the first quarter budget report. And so I'll try to get through this pretty quick. So what you just heard from Reed, this is kind of a quick look back at the last fiscal year. Clean audit, no findings. Thank you very much to Bonnie for keeping us all legal. We had unassigned fund balance of $6,222,000, or that's 55% of our general fund expenditure. So if you've been watching still in the news, even a year after Hurricane Helene in the mountains, some of those towns are having real financial problems because it takes so long to get the money for relief back. We've got 55% of that covered. We have property values increased 2.07%, this being the year before reval. Our overall expenses increased by $731,000, and our net position, you heard, was very strong. Assets exceeded liabilities by $24 million. You'll see the revenues at 10 million, expenditures at 12, that difference being 2.3, but we had anticipated needing about 2.9 million for fund balance, so we didn't use all of that fund balance. These are some of the economic indicators that affected us last year. Overall occupancy tax decreased by 4.24%, but our share, because of the shared revenues, other towns were raising taxes that reduces our share. We received 10% less. Sales tax decreased. Land transfer collections, they increased, but again, our growth was less than that increase because of those shared revenues. Building permit activity for new construction and additions remained strong through last year. Down at the bottom, you'll see some of those capital transactions that Reed mentioned, and we had an unchanged tax rate last year of 23.58 cents. So setting the stage sort of for where this year, where we are, we adopted a budget of about $1 million less than we did last year for this year. Our property values did go up because of the reval after 5 years. It was last done in 2020. We increased the tax rate we increased our tax rate 4 cents. The revenue neutral rate would have been 14.4. We increased taxes to 18.8, but we kept the beach nourishment tax rates at revenue neutral. This year, the budget includes $1 million for streets, $335,000 for multi-use path replacement, $1.1 million for beach nourishment debt service. We've got the public information officer position, and again, the town taking over the administration of the fire department. Overall, our salaries increased by 3%. Some of the highlights for the first quarter of this year, obviously the fire department, police department has two recruits started BLET in this quarter, so we're fully staffed there. Of course, have a deputy police chief now. We started meeting quarterly with the other towns for the beach nourishment project. Started work on the East Dogwood pavement repair project. Continuing to make some improvements in the cemetery. Put out an RFQ for irrigation, building renovations at Town Hall. The entry corridor committee kept doing their work. We had applied for a hazard mitigation grant, advanced assistance, a little over $500,000 for the work at 13th Avenue, along with Duck. Also, along with Duck, we put out a RFP for ocean rescue services. We did get 3 responses to that. The Duck manager and I are going to be reviewing those this week. Went before the LGC and came away with an approved loan for the fire department. And you started seeing monthly updates from the Public Works Department. And we also applied for a tourism impact grant from Dare County Tourist Bureau. So this is where we are after the first quarter. The difference in revenues and expenditures, we've spent about $44,000 more than we've brought in. But that primarily, you'll see the July and August, we don't bring in much revenue. September, the tax bills go out and we start to see an increase there. This doesn't include any land transfer tax. So we don't see a whole lot of revenue in the first quarter to begin with. But you can see down at the bottom, it's kind of small print, but every year for the last 3 years, expenditures were ahead of revenue by $371,000 last year, $1 million the year before, and $620,000 the year before that. So $44,000 is probably as close to even as we could get. The revenues year to date, you'll see this shows all of our major revenues. We've collected 18.71% to date. And again, that's pretty good for the first quarter. Revenues by year, I've shown you down at the bottom, the subtotal. That'll show you how much we've collected the last 4 fiscal years. And then the difference between this year and last year is the bolder box. We have actually brought in $231,000 more this time than we did last year at the same time. And this will show you the revenues by year. The blue box will show you that's the subtotals of those 3. So for the most part, this looks almost mirror image year after year. Occupancy, sales, and land transfer. We don't record any land transfer in the first quarter, so that's why that's zeroed out. But you can see we've collected 23% of our occupancy tax, 12% of our sales tax. And again, it's kind of early to take a look at this because of the timing, but that does give you an idea of where we are. Occupancy, sales, land transfer by year. This shows the first quarter for the last 3 years, and you can see a little bit more 25 over 24, and I think that's because of land transfer, but certainly less than 23, and I think that's because of the occupancy. And again, this graph just shows you each year, the first quarter, how we've kind of stacked up. Sales tax looks pretty flat. Occupancy has gone down. And you can see that growth over the last 2 years has been down, consistent 25, 24, but not quite like it was in 23. I'm throwing a lot of numbers at you, but the bottom corner there, the 17.99%, that shows you how much of our budget we've spent year to date. So again, it's kind of hard to divide 4 quarters, 25%, but that's, I guess, a benchmark you could look at. Expenditures by year, same like it was with the revenues. I've shown you how much we've collected in the first quarter of the last 4 years. And again, spent in the last 4 years. And again, the difference between this quarter versus last year, same quarter, we've spent $94,000 less than we did the year before. This graph would show you exactly what I just, the table from the slide before. And again, you can see for the most part, except the big year, I think that 24 was partly, I think part of that's the bridge. But you can see that, you know, it doesn't take a whole lot for the graph to change. And this is first quarter versus this year versus last year, what each department is spending. We've spent by department about $399,000 less than in 25 than, or yeah, this first quarter than we did the last quarter. And in summary, we're 18.71% of our revenues received to date, which is $231,000 more than this time last year. This time last year, we had collected about 19%, and we're $335,000 behind the previous year. But again, it's all, nothing here is alarming. Spent almost 18% of our budget, a little bit less than we spent this time last year. Let's see, we had, last time this year, we'd spent 16% of our budget, or $2.2 million. Occupancy, sales, and land transfer were behind in 23, but we're barely ahead in 24 than we were in 24. So this fund balance, all those numbers are, the two that I circle are the two most important ones. And we finished fiscal year 24 with just over $2 million. And we finished this past fiscal year with $2.7 million. And so that'll give you an idea. That's, you know, when we come out of the audit, these numbers are as close as they're going to be to real time. And so I wanted to share with you that. And in that box to the far right, you'll see we increased our unassigned fund balance by $708,000. And you can see the math that got us to that. And the spendable fund balance, it's important to note that in FY23, you changed your minimum reserve from 1.75 to $3.5 million. So that's unassigned fund balance that you've set aside, but you can only touch for very specific reasons, disaster being the main point of those. But every year, it fluctuates so much because of the way the encumbrances from one year carry over to the other. You've got to make that up with fund balance. But again, the bottom line is there's 2.7 in usable fund balance right now. Then I wanted to show you, as we're starting to get into the beach nourishment, what I've shown is the beginning, the beach nourishment reserve number. What that takes is the additions. Like if you go to the far left, it shows 1.7. That's the beach nourishment tax that's collected. In the first year, we only had to pay $67,000, and that was for a debt payment. But if you look at the next column, collected through 6/23, that was the first year of the debt payment of 1.2 million. You carry those 5 out, we'll make our final debt payment next fiscal year, and our ending balance for beach nourishment will be $2.1 million. And that's where we'll be when we start considering the next project. So all of this I'll give to you, and we'll put this on the website so you can kind of dive deeper. But you can see from each year how much we take in, how much goes out, and how much will be left at the end of the loan payment. These just show you where we are with the capital reserve. Again, that number you saw on the other screen for beach nourishment, it's a little over $2 million. In the canals, we have almost $400,000 for future canal maintenance. Other is funds that were appropriated to the capital reserve fund for a purpose that there was a kind of left from whatever that purpose was. So that's an amount Streets, we've got $578,000 and a total of 3.1 in capital reserve. And then going into this quarter, we hope to finish the town hall renovations, hope to have the Southern Shores Fire Department Auxiliary established as a 501c3. We hope we are successful in those 2 grants that we applied for. Continue progress on the work for East Dogwood Trail, and continue to make improvements to the cemetery. And so that is that. If you got any, I know I threw a lot at you, but again, I'll get you all copies of this. We'll put it on the website for the public.
So we'll get printed copies.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I'm old school. I like printed copies.
So I just want to make the
Killing
point
trees.
that this council asked the town manager to report to us on a regular basis where we are with our budget. So we actually are responsible for the fact that Cliff has to make this presentation right now. So thank you, Cliff, because I think that it is a lot of numbers, but it's really good to know, where we are financially. And I think the folks that live here need to know that too. Can we go back to the slide about the beach nourishment? Yeah. So just a couple of questions. The 2.1 million that will be still in that category, is that sort of typical of what other towns have at the end of their debt payment that they still have? In other words, in the debt payment, it was calculated that we should have X amount of reserve when we finish paying off the debt.
Yes, ma'am. By statute, you're allowed to have fund balance for when you establish a municipal service district, and those funds are to maintain and whatever the service district was established for. So I think that's about a typical number, percentage-wise for any town.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any questions for Cliff?
All right.
I don't see any.
Very comprehensive.
Yeah, thanks very much.
So I did want to mention the cemetery. We're continuing to look at doing some more improvements. Obviously, there's the irrigation that we hope to put in place. There's some other things that we're going to want to do, like maybe replace the fence on the north end of the property and some more landscaping. And that's probably going to take a budget amendment. The cemetery fund has about just under $40,000 in that. So we'll put together a plan with some costs and hopefully bring that to you at your November meeting. Also, wanted to ask if you all wanted to put a agenda item on the November agenda to talk about the speed limit on NC 12. There's, the town's been through a process of considering how and what that speed limit should be. It was last lowered, I think, in, was it 23, I believe. But if your March workshop, you had a workshop this past March, and you said then that you'd like to reconsider the speed limit sometime in the fall. And so I just wanted to see if there was consensus to consider that adjustment or consider what the speed limit on NC 12 should be. And part of that discussion was we weren't sure about the low-speed vehicles. That was kind of the one thing hanging out there. Are we going to have an issue with low-speed vehicles on NC 12? And so now I think we've had some time to evaluate and could have a long or could have a short conversation about it.
Well, I share your concern about golf carts on NC 12. However, I live on NC 12, and getting in and out of your driveway with an increased speed limit is, it's hard enough at 35, but at 45, which nobody's driving anyway, it's very difficult. So part of that conversation, I think, needs to be with people whose driveways are on NC 12 and get their input. Again, I watched the town council candidates forum last night, and golf carts and e-bikes were two of the things they talked about a lot. And I share those concerns, but I'd also like to be able to get out of my driveway.
How quickly would NCDOT react if we took action?
Well, in 21 is when the process was started, and they did a year-long survey in 22. And so I think the results of that, I don't think that we would have to do a new survey. So I think pretty quickly.
Okay. I'd be happy to have it on the agenda.
Yeah, I'm, two things. Happy to talk about it as a council, and also have people show up and give us public comment at the next meeting. But also, please, if you have a concern, an issue, or whatever that you want to share with us, please send us an email, give us a call so we know what you're thinking. I think it's worthwhile to have the discussion.
Sure.
Town hall renovations, I know we talked about it earlier. Any other improvements you want to make to?
Yes.
Do we need to do anything now?
I don't think so. We've still got some loose ends that we have to fix there. We have an acoustic issue that we didn't have before. We know we're going to have to address that. But there are some other things that I think we're going to ask you to consider maybe at the November meeting, which would likely add a budget amendment as well.
Well, and just circling back to the cemetery improvements, I think, I don't know how other council members feel, but, you know, it's a capital reserve fund, just like the canals in my mind. So we made a decision to contribute annually to the canal fund. I think it's very similar that we could make this, you know, not as large, but a similar idea for the cemetery, since it is something that the town is taking care of and improving. So I think that makes sense.
Yeah, that's a better way to generate revenue for the cemetery than we have now.
Yeah, and so, you know, I just think it's recognizing that it's something that we have taken responsibility for and we need to look after. And just like with the canals, that's something that we took responsibility for. We recognized it, and we have a fund set up to address it as we go forward into the future. So anyway, okay, I'll stop. Anything else for Cliff? Nope.
Okay.
All good.
Thank you.
Sir. Thanks, Cliff. Our town attorney, Philip. Good afternoon, sir. Good to see you.
Good afternoon. Nice to be with you all. No report.
No report from Philip. Thank you. We have general public comment now. If you haven't signed up, that's fine. But if you have general public comment for us now, the way it works is you come up to the podium, you tell us your name and where your property is, and then you have 3 minutes to give us a comment. Anybody want to talk? Yes, sir. Come on up.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Town Council. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Dave Traub. My wife Evelyn and I reside at 172 Ocean Boulevard. I am here to speak on behalf of myself and many other second homeowners regarding a persistent and growing issue: the unsightly and chronic presence of trash cans left along our public roads, particularly on Ocean Boulevard. Southern Shores is a beautiful community, one we all cherish. But for far too many days of the week, this beauty is marred by rows of trash cans lining our streets long after pickup, creating a significant and avoidable eyesore. Not only is it an eyesore, it is also a public safety issue. As you know, there are no sidewalks in Southern Shores along Ocean Boulevard. Quite often, as cars use our road as a cut-through, the trash cans can make it difficult to get off the road to avoid the traffic. Also, many times the trash cans are blown over prior to pickup. This attracts rodents and other scavengers and creates a public health issue. My wife and I were on a walk this morning, and as we made a right turn out of our driveway, just down to Dogwood, I counted close to 40 trash cans still on the road. And as you know, trash was picked up early yesterday. As second homeowners, we and our neighbors are often caught in the middle of this issue. We invest in our homes and take great pride in our communities. Our investment is compromised by a problem we have no ability to personally control. The current system, whatever its design, is not working. The core of the problem seems to be with the renters and rental companies. Tenants who are here for a week at a time often have no knowledge of the rules, no incentive to follow them, or simply don't care. In contrast, other communities such as Pine Island have managed to find workable solutions. I think it's time we do the same. We believe that the rental company should be a key part of the solution. They are the ones with direct connection to the tenants. They are also the ones who profit handsomely. We propose that the town explores options that places the responsibility for this problem squarely on these businesses. This can involve several measures. A fee system. Rental companies could pay an annual fee to the town, which would then be used to fund a dedicated town service for bin retrieval at rental properties. If this fee needed to be extended to all Southern Shore property owners, it would be money well spent. Direct responsibility. The town could require that rental agencies or their designated housekeepers and maintenance staff return the bins to the appropriate storage area on the property immediately after collection. Also, another option, I just have 20 more seconds.
Okay, yes, sir. Yep.
Financial incentives. A system of financial penalties could be established for rental companies whose properties are in chronic violation of the ordinance. Furthermore, we should investigate expanding the Southern Shores waste collection services. The fact that areas south of the road split already have rollback service demonstrates that such a system is feasible. The extension of this service to areas like Ocean Boulevard would be a practical and efficient solution for everyone, including those of us who do not rent our homes, but are here only part of the year. While we recognize that this is a service that comes with a cost, a clean and attractive community is a worthy investment. I have spoken with many other property owners who feel the same way as I do. We moved here and invested here because we love this town. We want it to be as clean and beautiful for others as it is for us. We urge you to stop discussing this issue and start implementing effective solutions. Our community's curb appeal, property values, and resident satisfactions are at stake. And I thank you for your time and consideration of this, I think, very important matter. Thank you.
And thank you.
Anyone else signed up or anyone else would like to speak at public comment? Yeah, the public hearing for, yes, sir. That's exactly right. Okay, moving on to no old business, but our two items for new business. Council, item 5, discussion of Dare Housing Foundation and council member appointment is on page 4 of your packet. Matt, you want to start the discussion?
Yes, I can start the discussion.
Very good.
You all know that the mayor and I have been serving on the Dare County Housing Task Force. I think that's the title of it, with 26 other people. And they published a report in December of 24 that, if you remember, that we had a presentation of earlier this year. One of the outgrowths of that report was establishing a nonprofit entity to engage in housing activities in Dare County. This is the culmination of that, and they've started to draft paperwork, bylaws, and now comprise the actual inaugural board of directors for the Dare Housing Foundation, as it will be called. Yesterday, the Dare County Board of Commissioners appropriated $200,000 annually to fund this nonprofit out of their budget. And currently, I think the Dare County Housing Task Force is seeking for nominations from the municipalities. For each municipality will have one board seat, in addition to 4 private sector people who have already been nominated, and 2 county commissioner seats, and then the Dare County Board of Education seat. So a 13-member board overall.
And so to piggyback on Matt's comments, so I was actually a member of the nonprofit subcommittee. Matt, so we're on 2 committees each.
2 subcommittees.
So we both serve on the big committee, and then I serve on the nonprofit subcommittee, and Matt serves on the, help me out, the site selection.
Plan subcommittee. We have had a
subcommittee.
catch-all title for a while.
Yeah,
but,
they're like everything else.
the nuts and bolts.
Yeah, nuts and bolts. There is a slide presentation that was included in our packet, which we can make available on the town website. It's also likely available on the county website. So if you want to get really in the weeds on what the Dare County Housing Task Force has been doing and the various subcommittees, I highly recommend you spend some time looking at these slides. But he and I have definitely participated in meetings, all year, really. And Matt has actually gone to Chapel Hill, how many
Yes.
times? 3 times?
Maybe 3 times now.
3 times.
One more next week.
And one more. To participate in the Our State, Our Homes effort, where he and the rest of the folks that go from Dare County can see what people around the state are doing. There are places around the state as well as around the country who are ahead of the curve in terms of where we are in Dare.
Just to interject, most of the other teams in that effort are nonprofits that have been already established and already providing rental assistance, down payment, land trust, things like that. So this is us catching up.
So really the exciting thing about this nonprofit being established here in Dare is it will be the opportunity for public and private combined efforts, because that's really what it's going to take in order to address the housing issue. And so, it's something that the town of Southern Shores has invested in, me and Matt. It's something that I can see us participating in possibly in the future with further investments. So, because it is a very, very serious issue in Dare County, as well as the rest of the country. That's all I'll say about that. Any other questions or comments, Paula, Rob?
I read the article in the Outer Banks Voice, and the notion is that maybe in the future, the county as well as the nonprofit may ask the towns for money. And, it's a question of whether, and we have to discuss, and we would love public input, whether the town of Southern Shores wants to contribute to this nonprofit. My concern is, yes, it's going to affect both the public and private sector. In other words, teachers and other public employees, giving them, housing in Dare County. But it's also going to benefit the private sector. And what I want to know is the private sector going to, put money into the housing task force, because they're also going to benefit.
I
Yeah,
think
and-
some of the discussion that came out of the commissioners meeting was a discussion on long-term funding for the housing foundation. And what I would foresee moving forward is, as the inaugural board sets itself up and starts looking at long-term funding sources, that literally nothing will be off the table. And there are organizations that represent private sector that will probably have quota commissioner skin in the game as well.
So, our task today is to nominate one of us to serve on the new Dare Housing Foundation, and I would like to nominate Mayor Pro Tem Matt Neal.
Second.
So we have a nomination and a second. Any further discussion? Thank you, Matt. All in favor,
Thank
say
you.
aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. We have now nominated our Mayor Pro Tem to serve for us. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you, Council.
All right. Next, we have a public hearing. So I'm going to turn the meeting over to our attorney, Mr. Phillip.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I now open public hearing LDA-25-01, a landmark designation application submitted by Perry and Gardner to designate 39 Ocean Boulevard as a historic landmark. Call town staff to vote.
Page 19. 19.
Thank you, Mr. Hornthal. Good afternoon again, council members and mayor. The next item on your agenda, this is a consideration of LDA-2501. The owner of 39 Ocean Boulevard has submitted an application to designate the property and structure, which is a flat top, as a historic landmark. The town's Historic Landmarks Commission considered the application at their September 4th Historic Landmarks Commission meeting, and they unanimously recommended approval of this designation. If approved, the property and the structure, which is a flat top located at 39 Ocean Boulevard, would be designated as a historic landmark. I'll touch on, you all included in your packets was a copy of the application, architectural description, ordinance, which is what we are recommending you all approve today. That would actually be the document that designates the property that's recorded at the Register of Deeds. But you also, we also included a copy of the local designation report that we're required to put together. So I'll just touch on a few of the highlights from that report. And I've asked Sheila to just have a few images up on the screens while I go through this that show the structure from different angles. So this is the north side, and Sheila, if you can go to the south side or the next picture, just scroll down. Yep. The historic name and the current name of this property is Drop Anchor. It is located at 39 Ocean Boulevard. The current owner is Perrin Wilkinson Gardner, and she is here in attendance this afternoon. The original builder was Moonlight Enterprises Incorporated. It is an approximately 1,504 square foot structure that was once used as a vacation home, and it is currently used as a year-round residence. The structure has vertical wood, unpainted T111 siding, and it is constructed on a concrete slab. In 2001, the owner removed the shingles on 3/4 of the house and replaced it with T111 and replaced all but 2 of the windows. The structure has been modernized and upgraded over the years, including a roof replacement in 2017, but the original design remains the same. The structure was constructed as a single-family dwelling in 1952. The structure is similar in construction and design to the flat top inspiration that Frank Stick brought to Dare County in the late 1940s. At one time, there were around 100 flat tops in the town of Southern Shores, and only around 20 remain today. This structure was built as a spec house by Moonlight Enterprises Incorporated. They are out of Murfreesboro, North Carolina in 1952. The current owner's grandfather, James T. Wilkinson Sr., bought the cottage 3 years later. It was used as a vacation home. It survived the Ash Wednesday storm. When the current owner's grandfather died, it went to her father, and when he died, it went to her. She is the 3rd generation owner, and today she is requesting that the property and the structure be designated as a historic landmark. So if you all are inclined to approve the property and structure as a historic landmark, town staff recommends that you all approve the ordinance, including in your package, that designates the property and structure as a historic landmark.
Is there anyone here signed to speak, or if anyone would like to speak?
Good afternoon, Council. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak. I'd like to speak in support of the historic landmark designation of 39 Ocean Boulevard, owned by Perrin Wilkinson Gardner. I've reviewed the application, and it satisfies all the criteria from my point of view. It's definitely in the flat top style that was originated here locally by Frank Stick. And I am Sally Andrews Gudis, and my husband Stephen and I began the flat top tours back in 2013, and this cottage was on our Southern Shores Historic Flat Top Tour in 2019. It is one of, as I can tell, one of the 2 historic, if designated, it would be one of 2 historic landmark flat tops that remains in the original family, and the other one being the Pipkin Cottage. And in addition, Perrin herself is an excellent resource of the history of Southern Shores. The landmark program continues to provide an incentive to owners in Southern Shores to retain some of our historic structures at a time when otherwise they are being torn down. So I ask your support of this. Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak? This time I close the public hearing.
Thank you, Philip. Council, any questions for staff? Or any comments or questions to the applicant or anything? Okay. Hearing, I think I'm sensing that we're ready to move forward. Motion, I would like to entertain a motion to approve the ordinance designating the property and structure, which is a flat top at 39 Ocean Boulevard, as a historic landmark.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed, say no. Motion carries. Thank you for the newest historic landmark in the town of Southern Shores. All right. Council business. Rob, you want to start us?
Sure. I sit on what they call the anniversary of the 250th anniversary of the signing of the Declaration of Independence. There is involvement by all of the towns up and down the beach, the county, also K through 12 education, College of the Albemarle. It's very unusual, but they're going to have a passport program. So in other words, people can go around and see from a historical perspective some of the key things that have happened here in Dare County. And I think I've previously reported that we are going to be one of the stops on the Passport Trail. And that is going to be Skyline Drive over here. So that's going to happen. There will be a plaque or an actual description of it, and there'll be a QR code on it, and that people can go and literally get a digital stamp on a passport. In addition, there is a preliminary draft video out, and they have, we're the first one up. And just to kind of toot our own horn, Duck doesn't have anything here. Southern Shores is the upper part of the beach here, and we made the cut. So that's coming up, and then we make, the video is about 30 seconds long on each place, so it's a pretty hurried horseback ride through. Secondly, I was interviewed by the folks at Current TV. They do a thing called Behind the Board. And if you want to look at the video, it gets into detail of my background, the long-term vision I have for Southern Shores in concert with everybody else. A bunch of people have watched it who I know and don't know, and they've given me positive feedback on that. So if you want to go out to the Current TV website, you can look at it, and you can throw darts at it if you'd like. Other than that, nothing of earth-shattering to report.
Thanks, Rob. Matt?
I was thinking you were going to Paul. Yes, I'll give a report. Let me look up the dates real quick. The corridor committees continue to meet. We've got close to a complete draft to present to council. We're reviewing that and then going through formatting, trying to glossy it up. I think right now we're going to do sort of a final draft review on the 21st at 9 a.m. and then figure out a plan for a presentation to council, which should either be November or December. So.
Great.
Very good. Paula?
Well, I haven't been on TV,
Sure, yeah.
but I still remain very invested in improving our cemetery. So that's kind of where I am.
Just to talk a little bit about the corridor committee, I'm actually have been on that committee. Want to emphasize that it's 100% volunteers. So, and we've had these regular meetings that are announced, like everything else is announced. And we've actually had some people drop in for a meeting, even more, at least one person for more than one meeting, just to kind of see what we're up to, what we're doing, which is great. So I invite anyone who would like to drop in. It's not too late. We're happy to share, how we got to where we are now and where we see going forward. It's been a very interesting and sort of fun experience to do. That's something that is like visionary like that. So anyway, it's been good. Our next council meeting will be on a Wednesday in November because the first Tuesday in November is Election Day. That's November the 4th. So our next meeting will be at 1 p.m. on Wednesday, November the 5th, right here in Town Hall. Yes, Matt.
I had one other thing that I feel obligated to report. With the annual parade of homes sponsored by the Outer Banks Home Builders Association, it's happening this week, and we have 2 homes in Southern Shores. I know a lot of residents enjoy that event. I see them usually annually if we have one. I do not have one this year, but I think it's still a worthwhile
That's
event
good.
for everybody.
Thank you for reminding
And
me.
we do not have do we have a flat top tour coming up in 26? Okay, so announcing it really early. Look for more information about our flat top tour that's coming up in April of 2026. I think that's it. Motion to adjourn.
So move.
Thank you all. Appreciate you.
That was quick.
110, 210, 210.
So how's this time working out?